So I just watched the movie Hypnotic, written and directed by Robert Rodriguez, starring Ben Affleck, Alice Braga, and William Finchner. The best way to describe this movie is it's like Inception, but if M. Night Shyamalan directed it. This is one of those movies that desperately tries to make you think, but due to a lack of setup and character development, you just don't care about anything that is happening. There's this big twist that happens about an hour into the movie that you just don't care about because you're never fully invested in the story. On top of that, the dialogue and line delivery are so bad that it's laughable, making it extremely difficult to believe that any of these characters even care about what is happening. Robert Rodriguez said in an interview that he actually came up with the name to this movie first and wrote the script around the name. And I think that shows. He said he was inspired by Hitchcock and his movies like Vertigo and really wanted to make a movie with a one-word title. The idea that this movie is even compared to a Hitchcock film is... what? This may be the most boring movie I reviewed on this channel. I had to watch this movie 3 times over the span of 6 weeks to really flesh out what I wanted to say about it. And to be honest, it's not much because nothing happens in this movie. So from here on out, I'm just going to be spoiling this whole movie. If you really want to watch it, then stop here and come back. But I think most people will agree that it's more or less a waste of time. This movie feels like a student film that had the backing of a $70 million budget. So basically, this movie is about Ben Affleck's character, who is a detective. Now, his daughter was kidnapped 4 years prior to the movie, and obviously he's still dealing with this. Now, the first thing I'll say is this movie is just under an hour and a half long. And for the first hour, everything you're watching is more or less pointless. To me, it comes off as one of those movies where everything ends up just being a dream or in someone's head, and most of the things you've watched don't really matter. But we'll get to that. So it starts with him talking to his therapist, and they're rehashing the events that led to his daughter's kidnapping. After the meeting, his partner picks him up and informs him that they received an anonymous tip about a bank robbery that is happening today. The caller informs them that the robbers are only interested in the safety deposit box 23. So they head down and stake out the bank. It's at this point where they witness this man and he's manipulating people just by saying things. So they rightfully assume that he's involved in the robbery. So after they see this guy, Ben Affleck's character, Rourke, runs into the bank to try to get to the safety deposit box first, where inside he uncovers a picture of his missing daughter with the message "Find Lev Del Rain" written on the photo. Rourke then chases the man down, but he ends up getting away because he makes the 2 other officers kill each other. Nix then informs Rourke that they ran a trace on the anonymous tip, leading them to an address. The address belongs to Diana Cruz. Rourke then takes Cruz into custody. It's there where she explains to Rourke that the man from the bank is a powerful hypnotist trained by a secret government division called the Division to control people's minds. He is what is referred to as a hypnotic, hence the name of the movie. Cruz explains to Rourke that she is also a hypnotic. It's at this point where Nix is trying desperately to light a lighter, and Del Rain sneaks up behind him and mind controls him to try to kill Rourke and Cruz. Cruz then shoots Nix, which kills him, so now that Rourke and Cruz are wanted for the murder of Nix, they flee to Mexico. On their way to Mexico, they encounter Del Rain again, and he creates what's called a construct, which... it's just more bullshit. That's all it is. Basically, a construct is created by a hypnotic to make people see what they want them to see. It just changes the environment around a specific person in order to get them to see something different. For example, you could be standing out front of a gas station, but then you look again and it's not a gas station, it's a pretzel shop. So through this construct is where you can really start to see, what movie they're inspired by. I mean, you can be the judge of that, but I think it's pretty obvious. So anyway, down in Mexico, they meet up with Rorschach, and I don't care how many things this guy's in, he's always going to be Rorschach to me. So anyway, Rorschach tells them that Del Rain is after Domino, an extremely powerful weapon developed by the Division. stolen and hidden by Delrain. You see, what had happened is Delrain stole Domino and then hid it from everyone, including himself, leaving himself a trail of breadcrumbs as to how to find it again. Basically, Delrain wiped his own memory and left behind triggers, prompting him to gradually recall Domino's location and regain his own hypnotic power. Because, yeah, I mean, if everything I just said doesn't scream amazing story, this is so dumb. Listen, I'm into sci-fi movies more than pretty much anyone I know. It's by far my favorite genre, but this is just boring. The reason I had to watch this movie 3 separate times is because it's so forgettable. Nothing happens, but the movie portrays these concepts as so intelligent. So anyway, it's at this point where Delrain reveals himself to be Rorschach in disguise. You see, he put on this construct to make himself look like Rorschach, but it wasn't him. So he creates another construct to try to capture them. And he is about to capture them when suddenly Rourke realizes that he has his own hypnotic powers. So he uses his own powers to escape, and they get away again. This movie is just basically about people getting away from each other. Delrain gets away from them in the beginning, and then they get away from Delrain after that, and then they get away from Delrain again, and then they get away from Delrain again, and then they get away from Delrain again. I mean, that's all this movie is. But hold on. We're not at the twist yet. So, Rourke and Cruz then seek out another person who used to work for the Division. It's here where we realize that Rourke's ex-wife is a Division agent as well. That's right, the mother of the daughter that's missing works for the Division. It's getting crazy. Calm down with these twists. So now Rourke doesn't know what to think, and I don't blame him. Things are getting kind of confusing and still very boring. So later that night, Rourke receives a phone call from Delrain, giving us some pretty intense dialogue.
You're never gonna find your daughter.
How about I kill you?
So it's at this point where Rourke and Cruz, they share a kiss, and it's nice. It's a nice little, it's a kiss. So after they kiss, Rourke then sneaks away and dives into the Division database himself. He discovers that his daughter, Minnie, is Domino. She's Domino. It's not a thing, it's a person. You see, Rourke and his ex-wife are both powerful hypnotics, and Minnie is the first child born from 2 powerful hypnotics, so she is double powerful. On top of that, it's revealed that Cruz is actually Rourke's ex-wife. That's a huge twist. Hold on, guys, the twists aren't done yet. So after that is revealed, it is revealed that this whole time we have been inside a construct. That's right. Everything that's happened so far has been a construct trying to find where Rourke hid his daughter. And I know what you're thinking. What? That is crazy. But here's what happened. Let's go back to the beginning. So Rourke and Cruz had a daughter, and he decided that he didn't want his daughter to be used as a weapon. So he himself hid his daughter from the Division and then erased his own memory. The Division, realizing this, has trapped Rourke inside a construct that they created to help flesh out the location of Minnie or Domino. They want to use her as a weapon. And Rourke, he doesn't want that. He says, no, my daughter's not a weapon. So Rourke then realizes that his wife is not on his side. And it's at this point where he tries to escape, so they reset the construct and try again. It's revealed that this is the 12th time they've tried to do this. So basically everything we've seen up until this point of the movie has been not actually happening. All of the characters that we've seen have been Division agents in disguise in the construct trying to get Rourke to locate his daughter. See guys, isn't that super interesting? It's not boring at all. So it's at this point where they restart the construct. Rourke is put back into the session with his therapist, then he goes to the stakeout, then he goes to the bank heist. However, this time it's different. With this iteration of the construct, Rourke finally realizes what he has to do. The words "Find Lev Delrain" are actually a code for Deer Valley Lane. You see the letters? Find Lev Delrain, Deer Valley Lane. You see there, guys? He was telling himself something, and he finally realized it, and he wrote it down on this piece of paper. Look, there it is. So it's at this point that it's revealed that Rourke has been hiding his daughter at his foster parents' house. Yes, so to break this down, it was easier for the division to create a construct than to somehow realize that Rourke has foster parents and they should probably just go check that house. Let's go check the house that is within driving distance to where our facility is. The movie thinks it's so smart, but it's so dumb. So anyway, we're almost at the end, so let's just get to the end because there's one more twist that's coming. So it's at this point where Rourke arrives at his foster parents' ranch where he's reunited with his daughter. And she's a little older now because it's been years since he's seen her. But more importantly, she is now a much more powerful Hypnotic. It's at this point where the division also realize where she is. So the division goes to the ranch. But you see, this was Rourke's plan the whole time. He needed to wait for Minnie to be powerful enough to create a construct to trick the division into putting their guard down somehow. And, then Minnie just makes them all execute each other. I mean, that's what happens. It's at this point where Minnie restores her mother's memories because her mother was in on it the whole time, guys. So the whole plan was to get Cruz to lead the division unknowingly to Minnie so Minnie could kill them all. And that's what she does. Minnie forces all the division agents to shoot each other in the face and then they're free. They're free, and that's the end of the movie. That is it. Or is it? Nope, there's a mid-credit scene. There's actually a mid-credit scene in this movie because they thought there'd be a sequel. In the mid-credit scene, it is revealed that Delrain is still alive, meaning that there was going to be a sequel to this. They were going to do another one. They still might. I doubt it, but they might. What the So all in all, what do I think? Well, for starters, I don't think this movie is good. It was a waste of a lot of money. When I was done watching this movie the first 2 times, I forgot so much of it because it's so forgettable. So basically, like I said, out of every movie I reviewed on this channel so far, no matter how bad they were, this one is by far the most boring movie where nothing happens. And at the end of it, you're just asking yourself, why did I just give it so many minutes of my life? There'll be a day where I die and I'll be sitting there and I'll be wanting 86 more minutes of my life, and I'll remember that I gave it to this movie. This is how I spent some of my life, and that's depressing.